All right, guys, I'll try to do a quick video on this. I just wanted to take the opportunity to show the Breitling chronograph 41 next to the Sinn 903, since they're very similar in designs. I know the dial layout is obviously different on the Breitling. They're both using kind of the same movement. There's just different variations of the ETA 7750 to obtain the different dial layout and date position, and that's really the big difference. There's so many different ways you can configure that movement. It's been around so long and it's been used so many times. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm curious to see what your guys' thoughts are. Some of the big standout things that are different between the two. Not taking into account that the design, where it came from, the brand's history, all of that. If we just look at the actual watches and specs, then I think it gets pretty interesting, to say the least. So size-wise, they're almost identical. They're both 40 millimeter cases. At the bezel, which the bezel on the Breitling turns, and then the Sinn is an internal rotating one. The Sinn is a 41 at the bezel, and the Breitling at its widest point, I measure like 41 and a half. But they look almost identical. The lug to lug is, again, it's almost identical. You're looking at 48 on the Sinn and 47 and 3/4 millimeter. You look at the case profiles on the side there, in the pushers and the crowns. The Breitling goes more for like some bling and some shine, which I kind of like for this actual design. And not that the Sinn didn't do it right or anything. The Sinn, actually, the way I feel like the Sinn is constructed and built, lends itself to be more of a everyday tool type watch. It has a little more heft to it. It's subtle, but I can feel it in hand. And using the crown with the inner rotating bezel and a screw down pusher, and having a 100-meter water resist, whereas the Breitling has a 100-meter, and then the Breitling has a 30-meter. So a little more water resistance on the Sinn. You have a double domed sapphire crystal on the Sinn, so legibility is nice from all angles, where you have a single dome on the Breitling, and it starts to distort at certain angles. Again, that could be a preference thing. They're both similar as far as being able to read the date and the time and use the chronograph. Oh, speaking of that, let's just get them both running so we can see that chronograph hand spinning as well. I'm indifferent on both of these. I really love the way the Sinn looks, and I thought I would prefer the different colored subdials over the color match subdials. But for legibility of actually being able to read the minute and hour hand, I think visually the distraction of this the different colored subdials versus the matched, it's easier to read the time, for me anyway, because I'm really not using the subdials, and so I don't know that I need the subdial super legible. But there's no doubt about it, the Sinn looks great, which there are Breitling models of the Navitimer out there that have the different colored subdials. So there's a ton to choose from in the Breitling lineup for sure. I didn't talk about the thickness. Again, they're about the same thickness. The Breitling is 14.2 millimeter thick, and the Sinn is 14 and a half. So a little bit higher dome on the crystal on that guy, which is where that comes from. They both have 22 millimeter lug width, and you have a 6 millimeter screw down crown on the Sinn, and you have a 6.6 millimeter push-pull crown on the Breitling. Casebacks, you have the Breitling here is a solid caseback. It's nice and smooth. It has some information there for doing calculations and everything. And on the Sinn, you get to see the movement, which is slightly decorated, and it has a custom rotor. So that's always fun to see. But it didn't really add any thickness. Because they're almost essentially the same thickness. So interesting that they were able to obtain that. Price-wise, that's where I think a lot of people are going to start to make their decision a little easier, because the Sinn in this configuration with the leather strap is only $3,500. And then I just took a quick look for the used market. I found not this exact colorway, but I found a Sinn like this used listed for like $2,500. So yeah, someone took $1,000 price hit, but you could pick one of these up for $2,500. I think that's a killer deal. Similar deals, actually a bigger price just spread on the used market for the Breitling, depending on the models and the year and all that stuff and condition. But the retail price on this configuration is $6,200. So the difference, we really need to talk new retail prices. I know that's no one's really going to pay that except for the Sinn if you buy the Sinn brand new. But it makes the video a little more timeless and a little more relevant as far as like the price difference. So 60, 200, 3,500, price difference of about 2,600, 2,680 to be exact. That's a lot of money. There's a huge difference there. So I could do a lot of things with that $2,680. So do I really want the Breitling, or do you save yourself a ton of money and go with the Sinn, which is kind of built maybe a little tougher feeling, and you get the display case back and you have the cool colorways? Or do you pony up and go with the original brand, the Breitling, and have some authenticity to it? That's really only going to be up to you guys. I can tell you that handling both these, I think I would be good. I think I'd be good either way. I'm not going to end up with either one of these in my collection, just because I think for me, chronographs just don't have enough pull. They don't pull at me in this stage of my collection to warrant investing that much money, tying that much money up into the collection, because it would displace another watch that I would rather have, essentially. So this Breitling I'm currently wearing is part of the Breitling Select program. So it's not my watch. It's Breitling's watch, and I'm renting it from them, essentially. So, and I'm really enjoying wearing it, and I look forward to trying other variations of chronographs from Breitling. And I think that's the way I like to experience chronographs. I don't know that I want to own one. I'm not sure what a service charge would be on one of these either, if and when a service charge even needs to be done. Maybe these movements can go a long, long time without a problem. I don't know. But I think visually, interest-wise, the Sinn definitely wins that category, I think, just because of the different colors on there. So I do want to point out one other thing that I do prefer over the Breitling over the Sinn. So yes, you have the inner rotating bezel, but see how it just, and it works perfect. Don't get me wrong. Everything about this watch works perfect, but try to capture it here. You can see how it's kind of just like laid on top of the dial, whereas on the Breitling, it kind of slants down and meets it like almost perfect. There's no, I don't know, it just mates up to it better. So that part I like much more on the Breitling. It is very difficult to turn, but I think that would smooth out. I don't use it a ton, and the traction on this is crazy good. So operating it, honestly, I prefer the rotating bezel versus the inner rotating bezel. So that's a huge deciding factor for me. And for that reason alone, I would almost pick the Breitling, on top of the fact that I like Breitling brand better than I like Sinn. So if I were going to choose, I would go with the Breitling. But let's kill the lights and check the lume on both these. So big thanks to Chaz for sending in the Sinn, and big thanks to, well, me for taking one for the team and doing the Breitling Select program. I know a lot of people are hating on it, but I'm super enjoying it. I'm happy I did it, and it's been fun so far. I look forward to the 2 other watches I'll get to try later on. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next vid.